Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of our NASCAR Heat 5 career mode. I hope you're all having a great day. Just 3 races remain in the regular season and we come to a wild card road course. My home track here in Ontario, Canada. Very excited for this one. A track where we've been robbed of wins previously and we look to change that today. In the field this weekend for Andretti Global, we got Andres Perez making a start here in the Cup Series, and as well AJ Allmendinger for Colleague. Perez has been quite successful in his second season of Amazon Prime Series racing. Don't be surprised if we see him in a Cup Series ride next season. Another race, more silly season news as we would get on the track here for qualifying. And as we show the qualifying lap, let's talk about the breaking news. And it was Tyler Reddick announcing he will in fact be going to Trackhouse Racing next season. We all kind of saw that coming. It became official here in this weekend for this Canadian Grand Prix weekend. Tyler Reddick to Trackhouse Racing. I think this is a really poor decision on his part. He signed this deal before he had won any races with 2311, so I feel like he's also probably regretting it. But from the sounds of it, 2311, they've already also got his replacement, of course, sorted out as well, which news of that will be coming soon. So Tyler Reddick, Trackhouse Racing, and a team that seems to be going in the wrong direction. I think this is really bad timing for both parties, and of course we'll see what happens as next season goes on. He could surprise us, but now he has to focus on the rest of this season. 2 wins under his belt, trying to make it 3 here in Canada. For us in qualifying, looking for P1 to put a Canadian on pole. It wasn't quite enough. A 1:16.676 puts us front row. P2 for this Canadian Tire 350. Connor Zilic, no surprise, on pole position over myself. Shane Van Gisbergen and Chris Buescher, row 2, both drivers in a must-win to get into the playoffs. Corey Day there in P9. How about Bubba Wallace in the top 10 for Andretti Global? A great qualifying effort for him, even considering his poor road course resume. Ty Gibbs and Tyler Reddick both further down the grid. Gibbs in a must-win scenario to make the playoffs as well. Zane Smith there in 36. A lot of names we're going to be keeping an eye on, of course, going into these final 3 races. As well, we had Amazon Prime Series action in Canada this weekend, and it was Denny Hamlin surprisingly winning, but it was my driver, Alex Labay, actually finishing P11 for us. I changed my name back to Gary Owens, so you don't see the Alex Labay, but it was who was in the car. So Alex Labay, Canadian, is of course getting a solid result at our home race. And now, let's go racing on Sunday.
Here we go then. The opportunity Shane Van Gisbergen has been looking for to get into the playoffs. He hasn't won in over 2 years. Does that change today?
That's a tall order, Lee. He's talented enough, but this track is full of chaos all race long. Whoever wins will need a lot of things to go their way today.
We have been in position to win here on home soil multiple times, and it's always come down to a awkwardly timed caution in stage 3 that flips this race completely, and we always end up on the losing side of that. The goal today is to not be on the losing side. We are determined to get win number 4 in the season here at home in Canada as we're ready to go racing here from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Myself and Connor Zilic on the front row. Zilic P1 leads us into turn 1. We'll go wheel to wheel into this first turn now. Shane Van Gisbergen as well, the lone Trackhouse driver without a win and only one not in the playoffs. We know he's retiring from full-time competition following the season. This could be his last chance to win his way in to the playoffs outside of Daytona. You never know what's going to happen there, but Shane Van Gisbergen with one heck of a road course racing resume, of course. We expect to see him fighting up front all day long. 6 laps here in stage 1, so we can make it to the end of stage 1 on field. This is a straight up stage fight as we slide through the grass there, but we'll be fighting from lap 1 all the way through lap 6 without having to worry about any potential pit stops as we make a mistake up the elevation, open up the wheel on the exit, go wide. SVG to my right side. We stay clear though for P2, and we'll get back going on this hunt towards the back of the 00 of Connor Zilic for Trackhouse Racing. The rumors continue to swirl about him as Trackhouse continues to look in more of a really rough state going towards the tail end of the season, in towards next season. Zilic leaving that team is a very real possibility, and Dale Jr. has entered some conversations with Zilic about next season and his plans. So there is a real possibility we could be racing our future teammate right here today in Canada now with 5 laps to go in stage 1. Zilich goes a little bit wide there through turn 1, but both myself and this 00, we would kind of stretch out the gap to SVG on back. Chris Buescher there still up in the mix. Christopher Bell into the top 5 as well, but Buescher, SVG, they're just behind us. We both know, or we know they both need to, of course, win their way in, as we've already talked about, and they've actually reeled us back in a little bit here as we exit this final turn down the front stretch. Lap 3 of 6, 4 to go here in stage 1, and SVG's right to my back bumper as we continue to try and stay ahead, and we continue to struggle with the handling of this car. Couldn't get the car to turn off the exit, and SVG pounces the New Zealander through into second position, and he'll go on the hunt to run down his Trackhouse teammate of Zilich. Now, over the next lap, he would run him down and start to put on some pressure, but fortunately for us, we would be right in the battle as well. This is turning into a 3-horse battle for the lead here early on in this race. SVG on the right, Zilich on the left. 2 Red Bull drivers as well, as you see behind us, Buescher and Bell 4th and 5th, now waiting for this kind of battle to sort itself out here. I don't want to force anything 3 wide on just lap 4 of a race at a road course, so I'm just kind of letting these guys sort things out. SVG is going to go through on Zilich to the lead, Shane Van Gisbergen. Now as we look to the right side of Zilich, leaving him plenty of room, but we should be able to comfortably, easily, as you can see right there, move up into second position as he starts to tumble down the order now, but he would continue to remain with us here as we actually go a little bit too deep into the long right band, slipping and sliding. Zilich is going to re-clear us now into the penultimate turn. We fight back alongside. This is a battle that's far from over. Wheel to wheel on the exit of the final turn, coming to 2 to go. SVG loves what he sees in his rear view mirror. Several cars fighting now as contact with Zilich into turn 1. He slides and he gets turned off the nose of the 20 of Christopher Bell, and he's going to lose it again off the rear end of Chase Elliott's car, and we come together in turn 1 and collide, and it results in Zilich going around and heavy impacts there. We stay green. I don't think, looking at the angle I saw there, that I really could have done much different. I felt like I left him the room, and in my opinion, Zilich came into me. I mean, I certainly left him a narrow lane to work with, but I don't think I crowded him to a point where that's on me. You guys can be the judge of that one. Usually I'll apologize if I wreck someone, even if it's just an AI in a video game, but I don't really feel like I could have done much different there other than just go wider around the corner. But I left him more than a car's width between the apex and my car. I felt like that was on him more so than myself. So we focus in without an apology and try to run down SVG, but not enough time here at the end of stage 1. So through these final couple of corners now, Shane Van Gisbergen is going to come through to win this first and opening stage. Of course, he's got to win to make this playoff, and he is starting off great to do exactly that. He wins stage 1 over myself, Buescher in 3rd, Bell 4th, Chase Elliott in need of a good day again up to 5th, Bowman will be P6, Zilich not even in the top 10. Hocevar, my junior motorsports teammate, one of them, of course, of the 2, the other being Gregson, he's inside the top 10, scoring some much-needed points, but he would like to be scoring more than that. Reddick, Bush, Chastain, all of Trackhouse would have been probably top 10 there if Zilich didn't have that moment with myself. But we pit for tires and fuel. We get ready to go back racing. We take the lead through the pit stops. SVG gives up the lead, but honestly, I'd rather be P2 for a start because you're on the inside line into turn 1. So now we're kind of at a disadvantage as we take the lead of this race. 9 laps of racing here in stage number 2. Shane Van Gisbergen easily clear on the exit of 1. We clear the 19 of Alex Bowman, who slides into 3rd in front of the 17 of Buescher. But Buescher, as you can see in the rear view, he's going to now fight back up the inside. They're going to go side by side and fight it out and determine who's going to get P3 and try to close in on myself in that 97 WeatherTech Honda Civic for Trackhouse Racing, operated by Shane Van Gisbergen. What a season he has had. Of course, not what he would like to be, the position he would like to be in. Of course, if the playoffs were only top 16 on points and not just win and you're in, SVG would actually be in the playoffs. So we talked about him being in a must-win to get in. It's not really as bad as it sounds in terms of points. He's actually 15th in the standings overall. So SVG would be in the playoffs if it wasn't a win and you're in system here in the NASCAR playoffs. So unfortunate. And you look at maybe his whole career could have been differently going into next season. Maybe he would have stuck around for another season. I mean, if he didn't maybe get robbed of a couple wins last season, he was going to win Dover. If it stayed green, he was going to win Watkins Glen. Poor pit stop completely ruined his race. He was looking at a 2-win season with not only a road course but an oval as well. I felt like that could have changed everything for Shane Van Gisbergen, and obviously this season hasn't quite gone how he has exactly wanted it to, but I still think he's got nothing to hang his head low about here as he continues to fight for the lead now as we have run him down, however, and right to the back. Obviously, I don't want SVG to win. I mean, he might be one of my favorite drivers, but my teammate of Carson Hocevar does not need any new winners if he wants a chance to point his way in. So we're going to fight SVG hard, and we got a chance to do that right here to take the lead of this race side by side with SVG down the long straightaway in towards the right bend, side by side into the bend. We cook into the corner too much. We run into the side of SVG, who slides off the track into the grass. He recollects it, saves a great save, but the 17 slips through. SVG drops the third. That is not what I was intending to do right there. I was going into the corner thinking we were going to have a good side-by-side battle. Instead, I push way too deep into that bend and drive straight into the side of Shane Van Gisbergen. Not at all what I was intending to do, not the result I wanted to have there, racing one of my favorite drivers in the Cup Series. So very unfortunate that I might have just changed the entire outcome for SVG, but at the same time, we got to focus back in. I mean, what just happened? It's over. Let's focus on going and racing for a win here on home soil. About a second in front of Christopher Bell with 6 to go on the stage. Green flag pit stops not far away. We can go about 6 laps on a full tank of fuel. So we are very close to pitting. We're in the fuel window to make it to the end of the second stage. But now, for the first time today, we've got control of this race. So of course the goal is to maintain that, because if you lose control at these road courses, sometimes it's just it can turn into a disaster so quickly. So we're trying to avoid that. We've continued to open up the gap now, nearly 2 seconds over the last lap on Chris Buescher. So now with 5 laps to go in the stage, it is pretty well free range on when we want to pit. My idea here, at least in stage 2, is we're going to stretch it as long as possible, because we want to pit as late as possible here in the stage, because then we'll probably be staying out at the end of the stage, because we're only going to be running a couple of laps. So we want to have as much fuel as possible to start that third and final stage. So here we are, lap 5, coming to lap 6, and this is where we're going to make our pit stop, as we're actually coming up on the 12 of Zane Smith. Had a great race last weekend, not here this week in Canada. Potential engine failure there on the 12. He is going a lap down. It's going to be day over for him, as we're going to get into the pits, and actually other guys around us. Buescher, he's going to stay out an additional lap, so we're going to come in. We'll get 4 tires on this Target Cadillac now. Win number 4. We are staring at it right out the windshield here, and things are going nice and smooth so far. It hasn't been smooth, of course, fully through this race, but the last few laps have been really good to just stretch out the gap and put us in a good spot. And we have a good conservative pit entrance and pit exit, and we had a very nice consistent pit stop that just puts us in a really good spot here. But I felt like I probably gave up a bit of time on pit entry and pit exit, but we had the time to give up. So once all these guys in front of us pit over the next lap or so, we should be able to cycle comfortably back out into the lead of this race now as we approach 3 to go on the stage, passing the colleague 16 of Ty Dillon. AJ Allmendinger actually out of this race, and as well, worth noting, Joey Logano's out of this race with a mechanical issue as well, as we get past Austin Hill, who comes into the pits. William Byron, he'll stretch it one more lap. I feel like we're seeing, of course, this pit strategy change, and of course, drivers are pitting over the course of about 3 laps, so we're probably going to see some different strategy following stage 2 going into stage 3, but we clear Buescher, Shane Van Gisbergen. We take the lead from William Byron to start the final lap of the stage as he comes into the pits and relinquishes the lead to myself. and now we have a gap of just over 2 seconds on Busher, 3 exactly to SVG, 6 and then 7 on Bowman and Reddick. Now spin out of the final turn. It's the 48 of Caruth who goes around right in front of the traffic, I should say, and gets hit there and spun around again. Corey Day even gets a piece of it, and the caution flies, and that ends the stage about 3/4 of a lap early, and we are the stage 2 winner. And you immediately see exactly what I expected. We are seeing some split strategy. I want track position, so we're going to stay on the racetrack, and if the guys that are pitting now, they're only going to be able to run about 1 or 2 extra laps than we will be able to, and I just don't feel like that's worth it. So we stay out, and you can see at least the top 10 is all on the lead, or did stay out. So that helps us quite a bit as we return to racing. Shane Van Gisbergen's one of the drivers that pitted, so watch out for him. We'll see how things work out now into turn 1. Bell forces myself and his teammate of Bowman 3 wide. We get clear easily though, and now they're going to tussle behind us, but I think this is a perfect scenario playing out right in our hands. But we have had at least twice at this track in the past, perfect scenarios kind of fall in our lap, and then something happens with an awkward timed caution, and it just gets ripped away from us. So that was in the back of my mind this entire race. So obviously, I'm just hoping we don't get that awkwardly timed caution, and maybe we can just have a nice green flag third and final stage. I mean, it has been a pretty green flag racing race so far. We saw that last episode as well in the Brickyard 400. So we've had a couple of races now that are just nice, lengthy green flag runs, but we've already opened up the gap with 15 to go by 2 seconds over our driver, Christopher Bell, that we're fighting against in the regular season championship battle. So of course, no surprise really to see him and myself running first and second. Maybe a bit of a surprise at a road course that both of us are still the ones up here, but we know SVG's got speed. We know Zillich has speed, but obviously what happened earlier to him between himself and I mean, has really put him on the back foot, trying to get back up through this field, and I just don't see it working out for the Trackhouse driver. And I'm very curious to see how the strategy is for the guys that just pitted. Now, we are going to have to pit relatively soon. Like, we're going to have to pit in a couple laps here. So that was the one kind of downside of staying out at the end of stage 2, is we're only going to run like 3 laps in stage 3 then pit. So we're going to stretch it as long as we possibly can. We just got the fuel light on now. As soon as that fuel light comes on, you basically have exactly 2 laps of fuel from that point. So we were just hitting 2 laps of fuel just before the start finish line, so we're going to try and stretch it and hope we don't run out of fuel so we can get that 2 laps, get back to our pit box, because that 1 extra lap that we push on fuel might be a difference maker later in this race, depending on how things shake out from cautions or just pit cycles. As now Chase Elliott problems, the number 9 Napa Auto Parts driver into the pits, tire failure on Elliott, and it's actually going to be day over. Elliott's race is going to come to an end here in Canada. Former winner here in the Truck Series back in the mid-2010s is out in the Cup Series now, and this is going to be big. We know Elliott's not locked into the playoffs, and we continue to talk about new winners. If there's a new winner today, this put Chase Elliott in a really rough position now as his day comes to an end. And we talk about Kyle Larson, of course, being substituted right now by Corey Day, who's of course, Larson out on injury. That magic number, 619 points to his name. He could still make the playoffs even while injured, and this is going to throw another surprise potentially into the conversation as we now come into the pits and actually smash into the back of the 12 of Zane Smith's car, who's out of the race, as will come in for 4 tires as well as fuel. No adjustments at this point. I had kind of gotten confident in this car, so we'll rejoin the racetrack and now get back into this. Christopher Bell has also pitted, and our car's not moving, the wheel's not turning, and suddenly everything's changing. The car's not going. Here comes Christopher Bell, and moments after Bell, about 3 seconds after he goes, we get the car back going, and you might be wondering what in the world just happened, and it's actually a really embarrassing story. I knocked over, when I came into the pits, I knocked over a drink onto my mouse, and the mouse, when it got hit by the soda, it's actually an Orange Crush, it tabbed out of the game without me ever noticing, and of course I realized that eventually I was no longer tabbed into the game, so I had to re-tab back in, and that's when we got control of this car. Did our race just get thrown away by an Orange Crush falling on my computer mouse? We're about to find out, but I don't think it's the end of the world because we are really quick, and we know that right now the 20 is the provisional leader, but look at this. I mean, we're already running him down. So, I mean, I just completely choked in the maybe strangest way possible, but we're already running down this 20, and I feel like we're going to be fine as long as this stays green for a little bit longer. And you're going to see the pit cycle now kicking off for everybody again. So all those guys that pitted at the end of stage 2 have already come back into the pits. So that has now been a solution for us. We are back out in front. We're in okay shape. Now we just got to get to that 20 of Christopher Bell, and we got to go by him and just try to drive away. So here we are coming to 9 laps to go. And Bell actually goes a little bit wide here coming up to the penultimate turn, and we are very much into the conversation again to retake the lead of this race. Now we've got time to be patient, but I do want to get out in front as quick as possible and just run away from this regular season championship battler of mine. He's second in the standings now, and we have been just kind of so close in the points battle all season long with Christopher now as we continue on. Now right to the back of him, now losing a little bit of time in the first few corners of this lap, but we would gain it back here down the hill, now up the elevation straight into the back of the 20 in one of the most unique corners on the Cup Series schedule here in this career mode. And here we go, we got a good run now to the back of the 20 DeWalt Toyota Camry, now right to the back of Christopher Bell here. We'll give him a little shot trying to pull out to the right side. Here we go, side by side with this DeWalt number 20. Now both of us looking for win 4 on the season as we'll go side by side into the bend. This time I'm not going to bulldoze the car off the racetrack that's on my left. We continue wheel to wheel through the penultimate turn, under 10 laps to go. Bell still leads by about half a car length into the final turn. Caution flies. This could be the caution that changes everything, and I couldn't find what the caution came out for. My guess is it was an engine failure because I didn't see any tire smoke. I looked for a few minutes, I couldn't find anything, but everybody, not everybody, oh boy, we've gone some split strategy. We have to pit. We've only got 2 laps to fuel, so it's an easy call for us. 4 tires and fuel. We can make it to the end, but now we're 6th for Bell, 7th for myself. Everybody that just stayed out, I don't believe they can make it. I think they're going to be a lap or 2 short on fuel. We restart with 5 laps to go in Canada. Was that the awkward timed caution that changes everything? It's very possible as Tyler Reddick sends it up the inside. I mean, fires a missile down the inside of Christopher Bell, and SVG follows through. And suddenly, Shane Van Gisbergen's chances of winning this race are back. And same for Tyler Reddick as we're wheel to wheel with Bell. And now it's a traffic management race, 3 wide through the middle. We're not going to be denied today. We are not going to lose another race here in Canada because of a poorly timed yellow. Now side by side with Reddick, the 3 wide, SVG in the middle, Gray on the left, now into the back of the 97, 4 wide on a road course. What a move from Tyler Reddick. Unbelievable stuff as we get into the back of the 55. Missed the apex, opening the door for Bush. What a road course race Kyle Busch is having. Alex Bowman's gone. He's running away, and now we're down in about provisional 4th. We know these guys that have stayed out, they likely have to pit. It's not a guarantee, but I just don't see a world where they make it on field. But fortunately for myself, all these guys were racing. Reddick, Bell, as well as SVG have been kind of caught up behind these slower cars. Parker Ritzlaff is one of them, and then it's Justin Haley in the number 6. Here we go. Now look at Bell get into the back of the 60 of Haley. We clear SVG. We're right to the back of the 20. What a race here in Canada now, and I'm really hoping Alex Bowman can't make it because he's on cruise control at this point as we continue to struggle getting through this traffic. Reddick looks like he's going to be the first one. He's right to the back of Retzlaff, but hold on, he went so wide that brings all of us right back into the conversation. Kyle Busch now fighting with his Trackhouse teammate of SVG. We're right to the back of Haley. We'll pull out to the left side. We'll try to complete this pass on him. Reddick goes way wide again as now through the right-hander. Kyle Busch forced it 3 wide, nearly contact there. And now we're up to P5, side by side for the potential provisional win. And it's right now Reddick prevailing, but Bell fights back, and I go too deep into the bend. We slide off the racetrack. Through goes Busch and drop down the P6 exhaust. Can we get back into this conversation? conversation. I think this is far from over. 3 laps to go for Alex Bowman. Busch goes through on Reddick. What a drive for Busch and what is expected to be his final season. And that Pocono winner locked into the playoffs, of course. Now we have to get this 45 and the 99 dealt with as soon as possible. 45 done. Easier pass than expected. Hold on, he fights back up the inside. Bell still held up behind Retzlaff, which is perfect for us. We hop over the curbing there and we'll hopefully get clear through the right-hander. There we go, clear of Tyler Reddick, and now the door opens again for Shane Van Gisbergen, but 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever it might be is not enough for the 97. He needs the win, of course, here, as here we go again to the back of Busch. Bell trying to go around the outside of Retzlaff, and suddenly the door of opportunity is back open. Retzlaff is fighting for his life for no reason at all. He has to pit, and now we're side by side with the Tootsie's Honda Civic of Busch. We clear him, and now we run down Christopher Bell into the bend. Here we go, side by side for what could be the win of this race. Now Bell not going to make it easy. Retzlaff's going to pit right here. He's out of the picture. Bowman stays out. Can Alex Bowman make it now as the urgency continues to build? Still fighting wheel to wheel with the 20 of Christopher Bell. What a race here in Canada into turn 1, side by side, clear. Now let's run away while they battle behind. Bell and Busch will scrap it out. Alex Bowman, does he have to pit or can he somehow make it? Is he about to steal the win in Canada? Are we gonna lose again in dramatic and heartbreaking fashion? The gap is nearly 8 seconds to the 19. If he can make it, I can't run him down, but we are driving away from Bell, Busch, and others. And now we just have to wait and see what happens with the 19 now, coming to the final lap of racing here in Canada. And we've been in position to take the win multiple times. We've talked about it, and it's always gone wrong, and it looks like it might go wrong again. Here's the moment of truth coming to the final lap. The 19, watch the track map. He's slowing. Bowman's in. He cannot make it. Bowman into the pits coming to the final lap, and out of the final turn. White flag waves here in Canada. We take the lead. Is it finally going to happen? Are we going to finally take the checkered flag on home soil out of the final first turn, on this final lap? Christopher Bell takes over second position. What a race here in Canada. It was action-packed from start to finish. It had everything. We, of course, were a part of the drama a few times with Connor Zilic, Shane Van Gisbergen. Poorly timed caution nearly stole the win again away from us, but instead we've managed to find a way to get back into the lead of this race and pounce on everything. We played our strategy the way we needed it to, and here we are with just a few corners to go. No pressure from behind. Fuel light comes on, does not matter, as we have a 3-second lead on Christopher Bell on this final lap of racing. I cannot believe we have managed to finally get ourselves in this position. The only way we lose at this point is if we completely choke right here in this final bend, which has happened a few times throughout today's race. Maybe the most dramatic race in Canadian Tire Motorsport history for the NASCAR Cup Series, and we will come out on top through the final turn, and it's going to be win number 4 on the season and our first time winning at home here in Canada. Finally, can you believe it? We have managed to pull it off in way more dramatic fashion than it ever needed to be in. Unbelievable. I mean, we are now at the top of the playoff standings with the most wins of anybody at 4. We know Christopher Bell could easily have 5 or 6 wins right now, so we can't discredit him by any means. But yeah, I mean, and the thing is, this season, as you see the finishing order, how about Andres Perez, their P6 in his debut in the Cup Series? But one thing that we are really taking into our hands this season with Junior Motorsports is I feel like every time we've been in position to win, we have won. And I feel like we've only been in position to win 4 races this season. We've won them all. That's crucial. Chris Buescher was one of the drivers on a bad strategy. He ends up 35th. Terrible for him. And you see the regular season standings just over 30 points ahead of Christopher Bell going into the final 2 races at Chicago and Daytona. But the playoff grid is what everyone wants to see. Chase Elliott, what's the situation? Kyle Larson, of course, you're going to see a different point tally for Larson's name, or what we'll say Corey Day, than what it's actually going to be at, of course, because of injury. So Elliott's at 633, which would put him P15 over Larson 619. So Hocevar, although it says 44, that's to Elliott 633 instead of supposed to be the 619. Hocevar is 30 points below the cut line. Hocevar needs 30 points in 2 races to knock an injured Kyle Larson out of the playoffs. Can it be done? Maybe it could be done in Chicago. Who knows? We'll see then. Thank you guys for watching, and have yourselves a great day.